Now for the second sentence. तस्माद् एते मंत्रा आत्मनो याथात्म्य प्रकाशनेन आत्मविषयं स्वाभाविककर्मविज्ञानं निवर्तयन्तः शोकमोहादिसंसारधर्मविच्छित्तिसाधनम् आत्मैकत्वादिविज्ञानम् उत्पादयन्ति. Here these mantras, that is the mantras of the Ishavasya Upanishad, are the subject. There are two verbal forms, nivartayantaha, a present participle which means dispelling, removing, and utpadayanti, which means they produce, they give rise to. The immediate object of both these verbal forms is vijnana, which means realization. Note the difference between jnana and vijnana. Jnana is just theoretical knowledge, as when you are told that something is the case, whereas vijnana is effective knowledge, as when you realize that something is truly the case because you have experienced it firsthand. So these mantras are destroying one kind of vijnana and producing another kind of vijnana. The vijnana they are destroying is Atma Vishayam Swabhavika Karma Vijnana, the realization that action is Swabhavika or natural with regards to the self. This is, of course, our ordinary experience of the self as Karta Bhokta, that is, doer and enjoyer. Dispelling it, the mantras produce a contradictory Atmaikatvadi Vijnana, the realization that the self is one, and so on. That is, it is Shuddha, Apapaviddha, etc. This Vijnana is Shokamohadi Samsara Dharma Vichitti Sadhana. It is the means to the Vichitti, destruction of the Samsara Dharma, the characteristics of samsara, such as shoka and moha. What is samsara? It is the experience of the world as the realm of shoka and moha, grief and attachment. We experience shoka when we lose something, and moha when we are unable to get something we want. Something is constantly beckoning us further, and something is constantly slipping by us. This experience of the world constitutes samsara. So the whole sentence is saying that these mantras, by illuminating the yathatmya of the Atman, are destroying the vijnana that karma is swabhavik with reference to the Atman, and they produce the vijnana of the ekatva and so on of the Atman, which is the means of destroying the samsara dharmas such as shoka and moha. Finally, let us reflect on the logical connector tasmat, which means therefore, and joins these two sentences in a causal sense. As you can see, it says tasmad ete mantra atmano and so on. The point appears to be this. Since one engages in action, presupposing that one is dvijati and so on, therefore, as these mantras are dispelling such false notions regarding the self, they produce a self realization that is instrumental in the cessation of samsara. What Shankar is trying to say here becomes clear from the last sentence. इत्येवम् उक्ताधिकार्या विधेय संबंध प्रयोजनान् मंत्रान् संक्षेपतो व्याख्यास्यामः. It means having stated the adhikarya, the abhideya, the sambandha and the prayojana, I will now briefly elucidate the mantras. The explanation of the adhikarya, the abhideya, the sambandha and the prayojana is what typically occurs in the Upodghata section of commentaries, and this literary formality is called Shastrarambha. Adhikarya means who the text is meant for. Abhidheya refers to the subject matter. Prayojana spells out the purpose, and Sambandha is the relation between the three. In this case, the Adhikarya is the one who is not karmaphalena arthi, that is, one who does not hanker after the fruit of action. He must have achieved nirveda or disillusionment with the world and should be convinced that karma cannot bring about the ultimate cessation of shoka and moha. The abhidheya, that is, the subject matter of the text, is moksha or liberation from samsara. Its prayojana or purpose is to bring about a cessation of samsara, and the sambandha is the removal of the faulty self understanding that the self is a doer and enjoyer, and the generation of the correct self understanding of the unity of the self, and so on. Thus, having explained what the mantras are all about, Shankar then proceeds to elucidate them one by one. This ends the Upodghata section of Shankar's commentary on the Ishavasya Upanishad. Hope it was enjoyable and it has whetted your appetite to read the text yourself. Before I conclude, however, there is one point I do want to mention. With regards to adhikara, one may argue that most of us are yet karma phalena arthi. So, from the foregoing, it appears that we are not adhikruta, that is, eligible to read the text. So, why should we read it? Well, I think that in pre colonial India, it was believed that not everything is meant for everyone. You must be in a certain position, you must have arrived at a certain state in order to perform a certain action or gain a certain knowledge. If not, you might just hurt yourself as well as others. Or in any case, you will not derive any value from the action or knowledge for which you are deemed ineligible. But on the other hand, as modern and postmodern human beings, we strive for or are expected to strive for a theoretical understanding as well. Even if we are not seeking moksha, we should be able to intellectually reflect upon it and how, say, Shankar understood it in the context of the Ishavasya Upanishad. The ancient Indian thinkers would totally disagree with this modern approach to text, and I think deep down they are right. To read a text is to participate in it seriously, to experience it and let it transform you. This can indeed get dangerous, which is why there is a restriction on adhikara. Be that as it may, I think as inhabitants of a modern and postmodern world, we should undertake a reading of texts even not allegedly meant for us as objectively as possible with a view to understand our intellectual heritage. Thank you.